front end, he doesn't turn that well. Okay, it's harder for him to turn. And he doesn't have the power. Where does that horse get his power from? The back end. Okay? So we got to keep him powered up from the back end. Okay, so when you go into the barrels, we want to make sure that the front and the back feet hit all the access points. Okay? So as I'm going around right there, I'm feeling his front and back feet are hitting on the access points. Okay? Now this time, the horse is pretty good in his back end. Now, what I'm doing is I'm using my inside leg to push his hip out and watch his feet. Okay? Because he's now no longer tracking the front and back feet. Can you see he's stepping to the outside a little bit? Okay? Now, there were a lot of horses here that were coming into the barrels. And that's why I just trot them through, go through slow, because those horses tell me what they're used to doing. Horses learn by repetition, and they're gonna go around the barrels the way they had been rode and taught, okay? So if those horses have been going into the barrels with their hips to the outside like this, the reason for that is because a lot of times they're coming in here to this spot, and then they get too close here at this third axis point, okay? Now, why did we go up to that third axis point? Because in order for this horse to clear this barrel, okay, when he's here, he's going to have to take an extra step wide, leaving that turn to clear his hip, okay, around the barrel. We'll do that again. Okay, so if we get right here inside of this third axis point, my next step, okay, is going to be here, okay? Now this horse isn't really a big horse, but if he still leaves his turn hard, his hip is still going to drag that barrel over if he leaves the turn hard right there. And the only other way that he doesn't drag that barrel down is to kick the hip to the outside. So those horses that are coming into the turns with their hip kicked to the outside, they're too short at axis point 3, okay? So if I come up here to axis point 3, all right, now I can just go ahead and finish that turn, and I've got room for him to clear that barrel and to keep the back end collected, okay? So hopefully that makes sense for those horses that are so short, because at every clinic there's always something that is the majority of the people do. And sometimes it may be people crossing their hands over. It might be riders leaning down looking at the barrels. But here it's been the majority of the horses have been short at axis point 3. Okay? So the way you get to that axis point 3, we'll just say that that's our third barrel. I'm coming from my third barrel. Okay? The instant I turn my second barrel and go up to that third barrel, I'm going to be looking over my outside ear. Let me make this clear. Looking over the ear, not at the ear. I'm looking over the ear at my first and my third axis point. Because where is the turn? Where's the turn at? What axis point? Axis point 3. Okay? So you have to look at that so that your depth perception is set correctly, okay? So you don't want to be going to the barrels and kind of looked at the barrel, or maybe being a little inside that first axis point and then think, I got to move my horse over. That does not work well. You're going to hit barrels and you're going to be slow, okay? So when you leave that second barrel, let's look over that outside ear, pointing that head and shoulders, and your eyes are moving all the time, from your first to your third, first to your third. First to your third, okay? So tomorrow, when I start working on these drills, one of the things I'm going to be looking for is if you're moving your eyes, because your eyes control the muscles and everything in your body. If you're not moving your eyes, then you have no intentions of getting up to that third axis point, okay? So remember, you have to get your position when you leave the barrel before, okay? If you come into that barrel looking down the inside of your horse's head, and a lot of people will look right here at this first axis point. to retrain yourself to keep those eyes moving forward. And the way you retrain yourself is work at it every day. Just constantly telling yourself. And that's why you do slow work. That's why you come out here and go around the barrels, so that you can start teaching yourself to react a certain way. Because when you get in competition and you get to the NFR one day, you don't want to be going down the alleyway. I got to do this, I got to do this, I got to do that, I got to do all this perfect. It needs to just come to you because you've trained so much for it. Okay? You can't be a baseball player and think about the mechanics of exactly how you swing the bat when you're up there, when a pitch is coming at you at 80, 90 miles an hour. Okay? You've got to just be able to react. So that's why the slow work and the preparation is so important, because it gets you thinking about what you have to do. Okay? And Lori, I know you like my baseball analogy there. But we can say the same thing with the golf swing too. If anybody starts changing their golf swing around, there's a certain amount of time that it takes to apply that to where it works for them. So just by teaching your eyes to move forward is a huge thing. So when you leave a barrel, you may initially be like, I gotta look up there, I gotta look up there, I gotta look up there. Okay? So if you lean off to the inside looking in, did you see where my horse went just because my weight was over there? All right? So if you look down at that barrel and look to the inside, your weight's going to come down the inside. Okay? I have yet to see anybody who can look at the inside and hold their weight out here like this without being tweaked. Okay? That's why I have you looking over the outside ear. So it keeps your weight set to the outside. You have room for that horse to turn. Okay? If you come into this turn real close, and a lot of you know what it feels like to have your horse come in too close and they're locked through the ribs. A lot of people say it's dropping their shoulder or they're cut them off or whatever it is. But you feel that block in that rib cage, right? When a horse is blocked in that rib cage, they don't turn well. Okay? So position coming into the turn is everything. So by guiding that horse correctly, by sitting correctly, setting them up for the turn, that's where the magic of it all happens. Okay? The mindset of going to the barrel and moving them over, throw that out the window. It's not going to help you any. Okay? You got to have your position for that barrel before you ever even get there. Okay? So when you go into the turns, you look over that outside ear, your weight's sitting down there, you're pointing that horse's head and shoulder, okay? And one thing that's real important when you're going in there, let me do that again. Because if I'm going to point that horse's head and shoulders, do I pick up on this rein more like this? Is his head now pointed? Okay? And one thing I want you to watch, when I really get that nose to the inside, if I look down and see where my horse's shoulders are going, can anybody tell me what direction they're going when I bend this horse's head around? If I'm to draw a line straight out of his shoulders, where are they going? They're going to the outside, okay? So for those of you who want to bend the nose too much, the nose is going in, the shoulders are going out, so I haven't done a very good job of guiding my horse where it needs to go. Okay?